Thanks. Okay, hi, I'm Mike Lawrence. I am Eden Lawrence's dad. She was up here second today. I'm going to talk about the size of space. Now, I am not a scientist or an astronomer, so I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I am an inquirer, and I want to be knowledgeable, so I did some research. Plus, I'm a lawyer, and lawyers talk about stuff they don't know about all the time. So when you're here on Earth and you look up, it's hard to get a sense of how many things are in the sky and how big things are and so on. You often see pictures like this one that show some planets bigger than others, everything's smaller than the sun, but you can't really tell exactly how big they are or how far apart they're spread. So that's what I'm interested in talking about. I became interested in that and wanted to bring it down to something we could digest. So here's a picture of Earth and our moon to scale. Earth's about 8,000 miles wide and the moon's about a little over 2,000. But of course they're not this close together. To put it in simpler terms, if the Earth was the size of a basketball, the moon would be about the size of a tennis ball. But of course they're not this close together. If the Earth was in fact the size of a basketball and the moon the size of a tennis ball, they'd be about this far apart. That's 24 feet apart. And that's hard to get a sense of when you're sitting here on Earth looking up at the moon, but that's a long ways. Most satellites are just right around Earth. They don't even get even close to going to the moon. So what about the other planets in the sun? Well, here's another picture that shows, yeah, some are bigger than others and so on, but again, you don't get a really good sense of how big things are or how spread out they are, and believe me, they're very spread out. So using the basketball analogy again, let's say the sun is the size of a basketball. Well, you can see up there in the upper right, the Earth is just a tiny little dot. It's just a little BB, 2 millimeters wide. And you can see over on the right, the other planets are a lot bigger. To break this down, let's say you put the solar system onto a football field. Well, the sun would be a little bit smaller than a golf ball. Neptune, the farthest planet from the sun, would be on the other goal line, and it would be the size of a BB. Or you could look at the sun being the size of a bowling ball. If it was a bowling ball out by the Liberty Bell on the front of the Capitol steps, the Earth would be about the size of a peppercorn out in the middle of Jefferson Street. Or for you folks who don't know what a peppercorn is, a nerd. You know those nerd candies? It's about like that big. The big giant gas planets would be even farther down Capitol Boulevard. Neptune, for instance, would be all the way down past Trader Joe's, kind of by Dunkley's Music. It'd be the size of a peanut. That's if the sun was a bowling ball on Capitol steps. So our sun is just one star in our solar system. There's many, many other stars. Some estimates are more than 100 billion stars, in our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. We don't have a picture of the Milky Way galaxy, but that's one that looks like the Milky Way, they think. That's about 100,000 light years across, and another 100 billion or more stars inside that galaxy. So there's lots of galaxies out there, but when we're sitting here on Earth, we see our galaxy. We see the Milky Way, and really all the stars we see in the sky at any one time are all in the Milky Way. And you might see a couple thousand stars on a nice clear night without any light pollution. To see the other galaxies, you need a space telescope, like the Hubble Space Telescope, that took this picture. Almost everything you see in that picture is a galaxy. And there's more than 5,000 galaxies in that picture, and that's just a tiny little piece of dark space, a fraction the size of the moon that picture's of. So if we're talking about hundreds of billions of galaxies out there and hundreds of billions of stars in all of the galaxies, how many stars are there in the universe? This is a question that people have asked, and scientists have crunched the numbers and tried to figure out how many there are. One way to look at it, or one way to ask the question is, are there more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth? Does anybody know the answer? There are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on all of the beaches of Earth by a large amount. 40 sextillion, give or take a few sextillion, I guess, stars in the universe, and only 7.5 quintillion. Now, these are big numbers. This big grid on the screen here, that's 1 million dots. You'd need 1,000 of those slides to get to 1 billion. You need 1 million of those slides to get to 1 trillion, and now we're back to the same problem of just trying to digest and comprehend how big these numbers actually are. So I hope I have intrigued you all enough to go do your own inquiring. Go on the internet, look at Phil Plait, look at the NASA astronomy picture of the day, Google things such as the pale blue dot to give yourselves some perspective of our size and place in the universe. Thank you.